Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for joining another episode here tonight. Tonight's going to be another episode about the candy factory. This got some very good responses and some questions. So the candy factory, as I mentioned earlier, is absolutely worth delving into, doing a deep dive on that candy factory with several episodes. And so without further ado, tonight's episode is going to be about my first day at the candy factory. Let's get started. So my first day at the candy factory was a long time ago. Long time ago. And at the candy factory, as you will know, it's a big place. It's a very big place. I mean, I don't know how much acreage is in that facility, but it is big. It goes under several levels, and then it extends further out past what you can see from the road, much like any other kind of manufacturing factory. You know, once you get inside those things, they're quite large. I mean, you wouldn't believe all the personnel and the machinery, the shipping, the receiving, the research and development departments. I mean, it's big, like any other manufacturing places is. But what makes the candy factory unique, as we've stated before, as you would probably suspect, the floors are painted white. The walls are painted white. The ceilings are painted white. The only color you really got in there is the yellow safety handrails. They even make blue stripes on the floor. That keeps pedestrian traffic to the right side. And then that way forklift traffic and everything else can use that other side and people not be forklift to death there. Because that's very dangerous. If you guys don't know anything about forklifts, they can be pretty scary coming at you in the wrong direction. But anyway, my first day at the candy factory went something like this. So they put you with somebody. Like most any other job, they just pair you up with some guy, and that's going to be your mentor. I'm laughing. Wow, your mentor for the first 40. The guy that they put me with was anything but a mentor. But anyway, they put me with a guy, and there's no way in the world I'll ever remember this guy's name. But for the sake of I'm going to call him Cody, and he reminds me of a Cody. Just imagine some kid who's so high their eyes squint. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? Those people that have just waked and baked. They have smoked a complete joint before going to work. This is this guy. Just imagine some kind of stoner surfer dude from any kind of movie, and that's who they paired me up with. So this guy was in charge of working what they called the mezzanines. And so, and I'm going to be adding some photos to the video to help give everybody an illustration. You wouldn't believe the people that have asked about what the candy factory looks like inside, because it is kind of hard to find out. Because the candy factories in the United States, they're really, you either live near one or you don't, you know, and you either work there or you didn't, and you can just only imagine really of what they kind of look like inside. You just hear like folklore of what they look like inside, like rivers of chocolate and Oopa Loopas and people dressed in white and just billions of M&Ms on conveyor belts. And that is exactly what it looks like. Well, he was in charge. Cody was in charge of the mezzanine area. And so I don't know how to describe it, but it was just dozens of hoppers. Hoppers being huge, I don't know, fiberglass drums, just gigantic drums, the size of maybe this room, several dozen of them. And candy would be poured into these to be sent out to different parts of the factory. And so you're having spillage all over the place. So what would you call metered out spillage? They know these things, these machines aren't perfect. Even with the precise engineering, there's going to be just M&Ms falling on the ground, spillage. And it's not causing any damage. It's not a hazard or anything. It's just part of it. It's just part of the process. You know, with any kind of work, you're going to get a little bit dirty. In the candy factory, well, you just got M&Ms everywhere. So his work area was the mezzanine areas, and his job was, we started off just sweeping. Because remember, you know, we're on day shift, so these M&Ms have just been spilling out all night long. And so here we come in at 8 a.m. or whatever it was, and it's time to sweep the M&Ms up, along with several other departments that this guy had to clean. So he starts me off, and if no particular order, but he just basically says, first rule, don't ever go to the break room by yourself. Don't try to travel to the break room by yourself. You're going to get lost, and you'll be lost for half the day. So the break room where we was on the exact opposite side of the factory, under 2 levels. There's no way in the world you could have found, there's no way, even with a map, there's no way you would have found yourself there. So that's why they pair you up, especially on your very first week. They don't want you getting lost, right? And so I got paired up with Cody, and I'm laughing because this kid was so high. I mean, just higher than a kite, man. And it is 8 a.m. in the morning. And he's like, come on, man. Come on, let me go show you something cool, man. Let me show you something cool. When stoners are about to show you something cool, you're probably going to see something cool. You don't do it. Whatever they're showing you, don't do it. But it's going to be pretty interesting. This cat, so these hoppers, I mean, just these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of M&Ms are pouring out into this like container, and it fills up to a certain level, and then drops it all into the chutes, the pipes that take it out, and then it fills back up. Well, Cody's higher than a kite. He's like, come over. And I guess he just thinks everyone else is higher than a kite too at 8 a.m. in the morning at the candy factory. And we're not. And so he says, come on, man, stick your arms in this, brother. It's going to feel so good. Oh, it feels so good. It's such a trip, man. And this cat, so M&Ms that you've been eating on, he sticks his entire arms, not his hands. This cat is almost in the hopper. I mean, he is just shoulder deep, both arms. And he's just like, man, feel this, man. What a trip, man. The M&Ms are coming on my arms, man. I feel it tingling, man. Brother, stick your arms in here, man. This is cool. You got to feel it, brother. Come on. Stick your arms in here, man, please. No, I'm not sticking and I did not stick my arms into the hopper with Cody. I was laughing so hard, I probably couldn't stand up to get my arms in there. But this cat does this for in a solid 10 minutes. I mean, he's just having the time of his life, contaminating all this candy product with his arms, his disgusting anybody's arms, you know, just in the candy, you know. And the guy's just having the time of his life. And he does this every morning. Every single morning. This is what he does at 8 a.m. when he gets to his area there at the mezzanines area. It was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing about it. And I think he did it another time or two throughout the day when he just needed to pick me up. Just stick half your body into the mezzanines and feel the M&Ms coming on you, man, and it just taking away your stress and troubles, I guess. It worked for him, so that's what he did. So I think that was literally within the first 20 minutes of being on his work area, as we called it. So the place was so big, you usually were paired up with somebody because it would take two people to clean these areas, and you would have like an area over here to clean, and it would take you like an hour and a half, then it's time to go to break, and then you would move on to your other area. That takes like another hour and a half, and then it's lunchtime, and then and so that's pretty much how your day went there at the old candy factory. So yeah, going to the break room, it literally, guys, I am not exaggerating at all. I don't think I could get to the break room by myself until like Thursday, and we started on Mondays. I mean, only on Thursday did I'm like, I think I can get there without getting lost. If you could just imagine, for those of you that play old school video games, Metal Gear Solid, if you've ever played the game Metal Gear Solid, that's what it looks like on the inside. If you can just imagine imagine an aircraft carrier. If you've ever seen any movies about life on the inside of an aircraft carrier, that may be my closest description, is what the inside of an aircraft carrier looks like. You've got stairs, ladders, then it opens up in big rooms. Of course, it's not as dark as an aircraft carrier. It's not painted gray. Everything's painted just white. It's a real bright place. It's a bright cherry place. I mean, we're making M&Ms, so you got all the colors of the candies there that are being made. And so that's really cool. So that leads me to the next story. So a long time ago, the candy factory was notoriously known for how many breaks we took. So, I mean, that was just the culture there. So the culture there, and then sometimes you would work 12-hour days. And so, yeah, you really kind of do need to slow that day out. That's a long time doing anything. But back in the day, before there was kind of like a regime and culture change, the candy factory was notorious for working 1 hour, taking a break for an hour, working an hour, taking a break for an hour, working for an hour, taking a break for an hour. Now, when I got there, I was not privy to that system other than a job there called the Twix line inspection. That's going to be another segment. It's a really cool story. But our schedule kind of went like this. So if we started at, let's say, I think we got there at 7. We got there at 7 o'clock. You clock in, you punch in at 7, and then you go to the locker room, men's locker room, women's locker room, and then that's where you would put on your Oompa Loompa outfit. Because remember, we're dressed in white. White pants, white, button-up shirt. If you worked in one of the cold rooms, if you worked in a colder part of the plant to keep the candy cold, there were some rooms that were quite chilly, so they would give you what's called a refrigerator jacket. And so it was a very cool jacket, and they were kind of hard to come by. So like if you've seen a dude with a cold jacket on, you're like, oh man, that guy's been here for a minute. It takes you a little seniority to get the cold jacket. But anyway, so there were some rooms that were pretty chilly, and then there was a room that I was assigned to called the chocolate hot tank room. And it was hot, guys. It was a scorcher. It was the set temp there, I think, was 104 or 108 degrees, 24/7, because that's how hot the room itself had to be, because the vats of chocolate, I think, were 200 degrees. And it would just churn the chocolate for the entire factory, and it would take it down through pipes to the entire factory. But anyway, so we would get in there and we would change clothes. I mean, really, honestly, we would take about 15, 20, 25 minutes to change clothes. It doesn't take anybody that long to change clothes. So, and you would just be at your area about 7:30. Well, there's 30 minutes right there, and you've not done anything but change clothes and talk to all your guy friends about, where you went last night, what'd you watch on TV or something like that. Then you would get to your area, and you would have to find out what you needed to do that day for your area, what needed cleaned, what tools you needed, what materials you needed. And so there's that. And then so you just get started cleaning your areas of the candy factory. And then along the way, I mean, it was a real time waste of a job. I mean, I worked more than I think a couple of other people there, just because there's no way I can just sit around and just not work here. I've got to do something. I don't mind hearing about Dale Earnhardt and what happened on Sunday. The racing, the NASCAR fans are huge there, huge deal there. So I enjoyed hearing the Dale Earnhardt story. Rest in peace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. But I got to work, man. There's no way we can talk about this for a solid hour. But anyway, so there was a lot of talking, a lot of walking around. And so that was just part of your day, was just walking to get something, and you're going to encounter somebody and you would talk about NASCAR or the Ultimate Fighting Championship for 10 minutes or something. All of this quickly adds up to, long story short, we didn't work but 4 hours a day, period, at all. And so there was a running joke there where you would go to something that had chocolate on it, and you would just smear it on your uniform. So you would give the illusion to everybody else and your boss that, hey, this guy got dirty doing something today. Look at his shirt or look at his pants. That was a running joke, but it's so true. People would purposely don themselves with some chocolate to make it look like they really got into some good hard work that day. Well, you work on your area for an hour, hour and a half, then it's time for your first break. Now, mind you, how big this place is, you have to get a head start going to the break room for your first break or lunch or your third break. You got to start walking for about 10 minutes just to get to the break room for your 30 or 45 minute first break to begin. All right. And then you've got to walk. So you finish your first break, which was about 30 or 40 minutes. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe even longer. And then you're going to walk another 10 minutes back to wherever you're at, or wherever you're working at next, or whatever assignment you've got. And then you do that till lunchtime. Lunchtime, I think, was at least an hour. I think there were times where it was at least an hour. I remember there were times after sitting there, enjoying the break, and after about 50 minutes, I would just go back to work. Like there's no amount. I don't need this much of a break. I'm just going nuts in here. Sleeping was a big deal back then. So the breaks were so ample that there were people that would literally count on getting maybe an hour's worth of good sleep here at the candy factory, because that's just how long some of the breaks were, depending on what department you were in. So, and then you've got lunchtime, then you've got the third break, and then before the end of the day, we got to change out of those uniforms, right? So then you've got to walk, you got to finish up your area, you got to clean up all your tools, return the forklift, return this, return that, and you're going to do that 30 minutes before you start heading back to the locker room to change clothes. And then you change clothes 30 minutes before even clocking out. So you don't need a calculator to see, we only worked 4 hours a day. You should be able to factor this in pretty quick. And so I remember telling a friend of mine, this about the candy factory years ago. And she was a school teacher, like in one of those inner city schools, where her life was on the line for 8 hours a day. God bless her. God bless teachers. Don't know how you do it. And she was appalled on how many breaks we took. And she said something to the effect of, I should report your place to the Department of Labor because you guys aren't doing enough labor there. And I told one of my friends this at work, and because we were getting a big joke about it. And he says, you're right. The amount of breaks we take here is just simply not enough. I think we need one more break. She's right. I hope she does report it to the department later. Anyway, he was a super funny guy. Super funny dude. So anyway, let's talk about that chocolate tank room area. So this area was like 2 levels underneath the place, it felt like. And so imagine walking into a room, and when I say rooms, I'm not talking about rooms in a house. I'm talking about a room the size of a gymnasium, maybe half the size of a gymnasium, depending on what type of machinery was in there. So in this chocolate tank room, there was 2 of them. There were 2 rooms, and they were about the size of I don't know, let's just imagine a basketball gymnasium, scale it down a little bit. I don't want to be dramatic about it. Scale it down a little bit, but that gives you an idea. And so within these 2 rooms, there was, I don't know, maybe a dozen chocolate tanks. So just imagine 13 miniature submarines. Imagine 13 school buses full of the, what would you call it? The churners, and they were just vats, and they were just churning this chocolate 24/7. And so the room itself had to be, it was either 104 or 108 degrees. I can't remember which one it was. And then so you can imagine inside of these tanks, I mean, it probably had to be close to 200 degrees or something like that. So what was kind of cool was there was all spillage. There was just calculated spillage all throughout the building. And so these chocolate tanks, the seals that would seal it together, well, it would leak. Just the way your car, you probably have a really nice car, but at some point you will have to change the seal around the engine just from wear and tear. And it may leak oil or what have you. And so the same thing was going on here, only in the candy factory, it would be spilling chocolate or caramel or butterscotch or whatever room you are working in. It sounds pretty crazy, doesn't it? And so it would spill out this chocolate. And so that was the jobs of the chocolate cleaners. Everybody there had to take care of your work area, and that was what you would do, is clean up chocolates. Now, in the chocolate tank room, now I'd already talked to you about how many breaks we got earlier. The chocolate tank room is about to double down on how many breaks you can take. In the chocolate tank room, now because it was like working in an oven, it paid you $1 more an hour. So I usually try to go where the money is. And I like tough jobs. I'll take the chocolate tank room because I remember they were asking for volunteers for the chocolate tank room. Nobody wanted it, obviously. No one wants to work in an oven half the day. Well, it paid an extra $1. So I was like, man, I'll go. And the chocolate tank room, when you walk in for a few seconds, it feels actually pretty good. Like it's got that sauna effect to it. It has that dry heat. It's like, man, this is actually pretty relaxing in here. I like it. This feels pretty cool. Just instantly, your whole muscles just relax. And if your head was stopped up, or if you had a headache or muscle aches, or if you had congested or sinuses, it would just immediately just disappear. The healing effects of heat, But then 10 minutes goes by and you're looking for the exit door pretty quick. So for whatever reason, I could kind of tolerate a little bit more than everybody else. So the breaks went like this in the chocolate tank room. On top of the breaks that you're already getting and abusing, you are now going to get, for every 30 minutes in the hot tank room, you're going to get a 15-minute break. And we know that's really going to be 20 or 25 minutes, And so, man, I really like that job. That job went by so fast. Every day I'm just like, I know we worked because I'm sweating, and we did clean up a whole lot of spillage today. But man, that was wild. That was a lot of breaks. But we had a good time down there. And so, I mean, I think my partner abused that more than I do, because I remember my boss would come looking for me all the time. And he would always find me working. He could never find the other guy. And I was never going to rat him out. You know, I'm just like, oh, yeah, he went this way. He'll be back. He'll be back. Because there's no way you're going to go look for him. You're never going to find him in this gigantic maze of rooms and stairs and elevators. It was just a super wild place. Remember to like, subscribe for more alerts and videos. Like the channel, comment, drop in the comments. I get a lot of private messages, but that's cool. It would be good to hear and see some comments down there at the bottom of the video as well. If you want to support the channel, we'd appreciate it. You can just go to Cash App, $ Michael Allen 2000. All right, so that's what it's like on day one of the chocolate factory. It was a super, super neat place. And then next, we're going to talk about the different types of rooms that were there and what those places were like and what that entailed. Stay tuned.